I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching the Apothecary Diaries Season 2, Episode 7. What was the look the Emperor had while staring at his glass of wine?
I feel like I did quite a bit of coping out of fear. You know, I didn't want to believe that the look on the Emperor could be anything but some other reason for a look and nothing that I should be fearful of or Mao Mao should be fearful of.
Okay.
And I did a lot of coping about it. But when I think back to some other things that happened in the episode, I get a little more fearful. And like the idea of the death of a single servant girl, you know, that doesn't matter much. And it takes me back to that giant conversation in terms of giant because of the dynamic between Jinshi and Mao Mao and how that really kind of solidified like, hey, we are in these places. These are our positions. We understand them with the if you ever have to kill me, please let it be poison conversation.
Yeah.
And it takes me back to that. And if you think about it, like any criminal show, any docu-series you watch that is about a crime, oftentimes people insert themselves into the crime investigations of the crimes they commit. And what is the perfect person for that is Mao Mao. You know, perfect timing. She comes in here, she saves one of the Emperor's children, tries to save the prince, doesn't work out, and then she's creating such a better environment here. They're trusting in her. She's saving lives. Too good of a timing. She knows too much. She's the perfect person to then become suspicious of.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit in the discussion of last episode of the potential that, yeah, is that, like, sure, we know that everything that Mao Mao's done is organic, natural, and is just amazing and for a good motive. But from, you know, a bird's eye view, it's just circumstance and coincidence again and again. Oh, this person, this girl who just so happened to be here has all of the answers. I get where you're coming from with that. Yeah, and
you even brought up in the discussion how it's not even just, oh, this girl has all the answers, she knows all this, but also like who raised this girl and taught her all this and what's his connection.
I think that I'm leaning more on the other side of things at the moment. I am leaning more towards the appreciation of Mao Mao from the Emperor just because of the picture of the Emperor that's been painted for me has been nothing but good for the most part. And I think that because of that, we're going to be putting Mao Mao into more of an appreciated position, even if it doesn't actually affect her position. But I worry about the enemy and their view of Mao Mao, because Mao Mao is the thing that continuously thwarts plans, but also, you know, locks in the safety of the Emperor and his children.
There could be not only an appreciation, but also more of protective measures on Mao Mao, like that she couldn't be utilized by the enemy or framed by the enemy. And I don't want to side on what I'm saying in terms of like the fear that I am feeling. Like, obviously, like I said, I've been coping a lot. I've been really wanting to believe that I understand the Emperor and I know what he's thinking here. But he could also just be in an impossible position of paranoia that I don't know if I would blame him about being suspicious of Mao Mao. So, okay, I'm nervous to go into this, but I want to.
Good writing. You ready? Sweet. When do you think we're going to get new opening? It has to be soon, right? The only thing we haven't got is Jinshi as a kid. It needs to happen.
I feel like I have no answers to whether I should be scared about the Emperor's expression within the OP.
Look. It's the only thing we haven't touched on yet, no? Oh. I love that, like, last 5-second sequence with the flowers and bandages.
I should pay more attention who's coming out of the doors.
Yeah.
I see Jinshi and Mao Mao. I saw the Emperor.
Oh. What? Holy shit, I have chills.
That's what Mao Mao's holding in the opening.
Does he still have it?
That
oh my
look.
God. Training. Oh.
人と老婆が何者なのか。老人は父で、老婆は祖母だった。そして、ずっと父だと思っていた男は兄だということも。
Holy shit.
妙なところで鈍いあの女官でもそろそろ気づくはずだ。
Yeah.
もしくはすでに。だったら気が楽なんだが。
How much Jinshi knows.
黙っておく。
Wow.
昔々この国には別の民が住んでいた。その民たちは長を持たなか
Shrine
っ
of
たが、
choosing.
陶器地より尊い血筋の女性がやってきて、それがリーの最初の
Are we listening to the
皇帝となられ
classes?
た。月のな
Yeah.
い夜も見通せる目を持った女性はやがて王母と呼ばれ、
どうだ薬屋。
人士様、顔が見えてしまいます。せっかく勉学に勤しんでいるのに、こんな生き物が覗いていたら
It
勉
would.
強にな
They
らない。
wouldn't pay attention.
生徒は20名ほどですか。
もっと集まるかと思ったんだがな。
最初は10名ほどだったので増えた方かと。
And it
Nice.
will keep increasing.
高級のありようも変わってくるだろう。現にシャオランは
Oh.
今は簡単な物語を読む段階に移っている。
God, think about how tired they must be.
そろそろお時間が。
They also have to continue with their
Yeah,
work.
there's no way they get a reprieve from work to
私はもう少し
study.
見学していきます。
I kind of hope we stay with Jinshi.
I feel like we should after what we saw at the beginning of the episode.
まだまだだよ。また先生に聞きに行かないと。ママも一緒に行こう。
Oh.
おう、
隣の棟に先生がいてね。時々聞きに行ってるんだ。
She's so
古
eager.
い秒。
すみません。
妙に細長く奥まで伸びているような。
Hmm.
柱の間隔が狭い。かなり細かく部屋が分かれているんだろう。
あの廟が気になるのかい？
The abandoned
Yeah.
buildings that are
少
over
し
here.
変わった作りの建物だなと思いまして。
王母様ってさっき習った初代皇帝のお母さん？
そう、王母様は息子にこう伝えたんだ。この地を治める者は、あの廟を通り
The
抜
Shrine of
けないとい
Choosing,
け
huh?
ない。そして正しい道を選んだ者だけがこの地
The
の
right
長となる。息子は無事あの廟を通り抜け皇帝になった
It's
と
like
いう
a maze.
先の主上、先帝の兄君たちはみんな流行り病で倒れただろう。残ったのは先帝のみ。
通過儀礼を行うまでもなく決まったというわけだ。
Oh,
あれに興味を持ってくれる子がいて。
God, imagine the Emperor doing it and Jinshi doing it.
久しぶりだね。ああ、昔ここにいたイカンが変わり者でね、暇があったら高級内を。
Oh my
Of course he did.
今のお前さんみたいにあの。
Oh my
寮の
God.
それってルオー
Following in his
知っ
footsteps.
てるのか？
しまった。つい。養父です。高級を出た後、
Why not?
花町で薬屋を営んでおりました。この人は親父と仲が良かった
I think he did. He
Yeah.
seems like he did.
見て、かけた。
Yes!
お、
Shaolin, you're amazing.
失礼いたします。
待て、クスシ。この後行くところへついてきてほしいのだ。
Okay.
I trust in you, Emperor.
選択の秒。
Okay!
Okay, why?
突然どうされたのですか？
一体何をなさるのやら。
Even Jinshi doesn't know.
Look at his little smile.
それに手習い所の先生。
お待ちしておりました。
もう一度、チンが通って。
何度
Oh!
来られても同じかもしれませんが、でもよろし
Might
けれ
get
ば
the same
帝に
result.
対してヒヤヒヤする言葉遣いだ。
では、
Oh
Why are we
my
doing this?
lord. I love
ここは
this.
女人禁制では。
公母も女帝も女性ですよ。
Yeah?
どうぞ。
では、参ろうか。
三つの扉。赤き扉。通るべからず。
So it's like a
扉の色
puzzle.
は青、赤、緑。青か緑を選べってことか。
Green.
どの扉を選びますか？管理する我々の身にもなってください。使われなくなったと思ったら突然やってくるお方がいるのですか
Think
ら。
like how he's talking to the
Mhm.
Emperor, right?
Yeah.
これをずっと繰り返すのか？上がったり下がったり、戻ったり曲がったり、もう方向がわからない。早く終わらないもんか。
これが最後の扉だな。
次の扉は青、紫、木で青き扉を通るべからず。 他にもここに通じる扉が別の道からここに合流するのか。
木を選ぶ。
It's just gonna be like a
よろ
wall.
しいですね。
頼む。
行き止まり。王の子よ。だが王母の子ではない。意味はわからないが明らかに拒絶だろ
前に来た時と同じ
Same result
結
as
果か。
before.
He's not displeased or angry.
And
う。
why bring
なの
them?
に真剣な顔をしている。
真に天意を知ることはできないか。
何をおっしゃいますやら。この病を後宮の中に閉じ込めた時点で、ここを管理する者は私一人になりました。
管理を続けるため、虚勢して宦官になってまでここに。帝は看板の指示に従って進んだ。間違いはしなかったはずだ。
Are we doing this right now?
Yeah.
つけなかった。
きっとローメンならわかる。
Oh shit.
Hey!
養父ならわかるというのですか。
さてね、どうだろうね。
Oh, you know what you're
確かに
doing.
親父の知識はすごい。親父は特に医術に関しての知識が群を抜いている。それに関係するということか。三つの扉、三つの色。王の子よ。だが王母の子ではない。
真が王母の子ではないという言葉の意味がわかるか。
建国の物語に登場するのは初代皇帝の母、王母だ。ならば母方の血を重んじそうなものだが、実際には男子による世襲制をとっている。その中で王母の血筋を残そうとするなら、先帝のご兄弟は同服だったのでしょうか。
全員が同服ではないが、王子を産んだ母君たちは
ああ
姉妹だと聞いた。
つまり血が近かったということですね。無礼にも聞こえるかもしれませんが、一つよろしいでしょうか。代々帝位を継いだのは目の悪い方が多かったのではありませんか。
確かにあまり良くなかったと聞いたことがある。
やっぱりあの病の中、もう一度
Oh my
通ることはでき
god.
ませんか。
さっきは連れて行ったけど、そう何度も入れるのはね。扉の選択に口を挟むとなればなおさら。まして妃でも姫でもないだろう。
ただの下女だもんな。
ならば妃に召し上げよう。官の説得には骨が。
What? Same language.
ならばお前が連れて行くか。
Oh.
それなら構わぬか。
首相がそうおっしゃるのであれば。
では参ろうか。
I love him. He's fantastic.
気がある。
He's more playful than usual.
I love that he brought up
Oh,
Lacan.
look at his face! Did you see his
Yeah.
face? What a
赤
meddler!
き扉を通るべからず。
どれを選ぶ？
青
He's enjoying himself
ここ
so much right now.
帝が選ばれたものと同じ。
真の選んだ扉と違うな。
さっき通った時はわからなかった。王母の子にしか選べない扉があるとしたら、扉の色に鍵があるはずだ。
And if you have bad eyesight, is that like a colorblind
これ
thing?
で10個目。白、紫、緑の扉、汝、赤い扉を選べ。
赤い扉などないぞ。
Is there like a color that would look red to you?
緑の扉を
Yeah.
緑。
くぐればわかります。
You'll see when we get through.
Oh my god.
おめで
Amazing.
とうございます。正しき道を選ばれたようで、昔王母に選ばれた者は次の王になりました。その者はここに立ち、民に宣誓する決まりでした。正しき道を選ぶ妃を連れて、再度この病へ。
The concubine who could choose the right path.
正しき血を受け継ぐ者がそれをなすわけです。この度はどうも違うものが当ててしまったようで。
挑発してきた。なんだこのじじい。
それはそちらの娘に聞いてはいかがかと。
言いにくいことを私に言わせる気か。
Show off your hard work.
この病に選ばれし者、つまり王母の血を引く者は色の識別ができない目を持つということです。
Wow.
赤い扉を通るなとありました。なら青でも緑でも正解なはずですが、王母の子は青を選ぶはずです。なぜなら赤と緑の区別がつかないから 確実に赤ではない扉を選ぶ。
赤と緑が区別できない。
この国では珍しいのですが、裁縫には赤と緑の判別ができない男性が
Wow.
10人に1人の割合でいたそうです。
ローメンならわかるだろうね。
裁縫に留学していた親父ならこの特性を知っていただろう。あれはそういう意味だったか。茶と緑の区別がつかない場合、消去法で水色を選ぶでしょう。最後の扉も赤を通れとありながら赤い扉がありませんでした。白と紫の扉が確実に見分けられるなら
Then they'd be like, this one has to be red.
うん
赤だと判断します。
Oh, that's fantastic.
正解は2つあるように見えながら、本当の正解は1つしかなかったのです。そして色の識別が困難な分、読めが効くとも聞きます。
Wow.
それが王母の目の言い伝えの元ではないでしょうか。時には偶然通過した者もいるかもしれませんが、最後の部屋までたどり着ける確率は相当低いでしょう。昔話には王母は陶器地よりやってきたものとある。新たな地に定住するのは容易なことではありません。そこで彼女はこの地の長と婚姻を結んだのです。
待て薬屋。伝承では王母は夫を持たなかったと聞くぞ。
そこが王母たちのしたたかなところです。血が濃くなりすぎないよう、よそから来たものをめとるのは珍しいことではない。王母を祖としながら代々男子が皇位継承しているのは、この地の長を立てたやり方に従ったからだと思います。しかし王母の血族はそのまま自分たちの血が薄れ、途絶えるのを良しとしなかった。王母の血を確実に後世に残す方法。
How can we make
それ
sure?
がこの選択の量ももし特性を持つ者がいなければ、王母に近しい血筋の者を妃として迎え、
So then even the
妃も廟に立ち入ることができるのはそのためだ。そうやって少しずつ国の中心に入り込んでいく。元いた長の存在を物語から追い出し、
to
Holy
chase the
shit.
original leader out of the story.
で当時を知る者がいなくなれば、残った物語が真
The
実。
story becomes the truth.
それはとても平和で気の長い乗っ取りだったわけだ。
つまり陳には王母の血は流れておらぬということか。
その傾向があっても子に伝わらないこともあります。それに血は濃くなりすぎても弊害が起こります。先帝のご兄弟が病で倒れられたのもそのせいかもしれません。
よもやこんな小娘が本当に謎解きするとは思いませんでした。
小娘
王母がこの地を治められたのは類まれな聡明さがあったからこそと言われております。この際血を薄めるのであれば、いっそこのようなものを取り込んでみては。
何を言っているのだ、あのクソじじい。
それも面白いかもしれぬが、ラカンを敵に
Again, reiterating that.
何より胸周りが15センチほど足らぬ。
余計なお世話だ。
しかしお気をつけください。よその血が入ることを快く思わない連中も多いでしょう。
Interesting.
分かっておるよ。
主情は分かっておられますでしょう。お気をつけください。
分かっている。
Wow.
一体何者なんだろう。帝のお気に入りの宦官、それだけで済ませるには
Jinshi knows that she's there.
誰だっていいか。
Ah!
そういうものだ。
I want you to know!
Okay, that was the Apothecary Diaries Season 2, Episode 7. First thing we're doing, right off the bat, is rereading what Jinshi says after he awakens from his dream, right? Back then, I had no way of knowing who the old man and old woman were. They taught me later. The old man was my father, and the old woman was my grandmother. Also, they told me that the man I always thought was my father was actually my brother.
So he, as a kid, thought that the emperor was his dad, the current emperor, but then was told the current narrative that we live under, which is that they're brothers.
Correct.
So as a child, he felt, and even the emperor maybe treated him so closely that he felt like, oh, this is how, like a dad's love. Maybe because obviously we get this interaction with the old man that was his father being kind of odd, like he's being kept away from his son, so maybe Jinshi didn't grow up knowing these two very well. Therefore, the person that he would think of as his father is the adult male that was interacting with him the most.
Yeah.
Which he's then told is his brother. I wanted to reread this because I was like, hold up. You actually, as a kid, thought that was your dad, and then you were told the lie that we're currently living under? Or what are we doing here?
Here's the issue. Okay, so it's not an issue, but here's the complication, right? I don't think there are probably only a handful of people who know the quote unquote lie that you're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that complicates things when listening to this for the first time, that make you have to take a step back, because we know something that Jinshi doesn't.
Right.
And Jinshi had to figure something out himself and was told the reality of the situation later, that the Emperor was his brother, not his father, right? And, like, narratively, will we ever be able to confirm that Jinshi is the son of Aoduo? Because the only people who I think would know are Aoduo and maybe Luomin. I don't even know about that. And, like, that's what this makes me think. Because when we have, like, such emphasis on a character's perspective and reality, and how and the fear that Mao Mao is going to actually figure out that this is the brother to the Emperor, that needs to happen. That needs to be given its just time, and it needs to play out, rightfully so, before anything that we might think could come into play. And I don't even know if it will.
I mean, honestly, I think from last episode, us getting like a POV and inner voice of a character that was other than Mao Mao definitely is coming to play here, with us finally actually hearing through Jinshi being by himself what he actually knows or thinks is true. Because I feel like I've been operating under a certain assumption based on his season 1 interactions with Aoduo, that he felt like this was his mom, or he knew. But now it feels much more like he's always been drawn to her, but he was told that she's not anything to him. That's what I'm getting now. And that we would then, using Mao Mao, have to, do we break down what he now believes is true and in his heart doesn't agree with? Or is that necessary?
Who did Aoduo have Jinshi with, right?
The Emperor. The current Emperor.
So, Jinshi believes, or was told, that the Emperor was his father, and then had to be told the Emperor was his brother, but in reality the Emperor is his father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, I don't think he was ever told it was his father. I think that he believed it as a child through probably interaction, and just as a kid was like, you are always around and I look up to you and you care about me, daddy, you know, that kind of thing. I feel like in my mind, the Emperor would not be doing what he does in this episode unless he knows who Jinshi really is. And he wants Jinshi to either figure it out, or he wants to pass on. He wants Jinshi to maybe, I don't know, this could be a crazy read, but I feel like the Emperor wants Jinshi to realize the truth and take upon the mantle of the next Emperor. Like, whether that's the little brother takes the throne, or whether that's a declaration of, I am the rightful heir.
You think?
Why else would he have Jinshi go through the rite of, the Shrine of Choosing with Mao Mao?
I think he just, like, wants them to date.
That could be true. He's meddling, but he also is showing, like, because a concubine was allowed to go with the ruler that was allowed, like, bloodline-wise, the rightful ruler. He said, yes, take this girl. You can have her as, like, the concubine situation. I'm not going to take her. Jinshi can have her. And that's him putting the two of them together in that same situation as a heir taking a concubine into the Shrine of Choosing. And he's letting them do the doors themselves. And they get to the right spot. I feel like he got exactly what he wanted, which was having Jinshi in that location, getting through the doors, the Shrine of Choosing, which is an old way of discovering who the rightful ruler is. There's no actual ceremony to it anymore, but it's purposeful for the Emperor to put him through this.
I have a question for you. do you think Jinshi's mom was also aware that Jinshi wasn't, like, that the babies were swapped?
So Jinshi's mom, the Empress Dowager,
I'm like, I have pulled up, why did my mother have that look on her face? And I'm like, do you think that there was any suspicion that Jinshi's parents had, or father had, and grandmother had, that Jinshi wasn't actually her kid? And this, the whole episode, and then that handing off of something was a potential test to see if that bloodline was or wasn't passed down?
So, like, the maternal bloodline / the traits from the maternal side is what's kind of given such heavy emphasis in the end of this episode, especially when we get the explanation of the Shrine of Choosing. And Ao Duo definitely passed on her physical traits to Jinshi. So very recognizably physical traits. Yeah, this expression from the Empress Dowager here, it feels protective of Jinshi. It feels like, I'm stepping in the way of you being able to interact with this child. It feels like the grandmother is also like, hey, you're not supposed to be out of your room. Was he going insane? Did they think that he was going to tell Jinshi the actual truth because he was going insane? Why would they want to keep him away from Jinshi, you know? Is it because he was just insane and they're trying to keep him away from, like, the eyes of the public? Or did they think him interacting with Jinshi was a bad idea?
Yeah.
Because the Empress Dowager could also have hatred toward the old man in this story, the old emperor, because why did her kid, if she knows the truth about Jinshi, then she's, what are the fairy creatures, the changelings?
Yeah.
Are they the ones that, you know, kind of kick, like, replace a child?
Yeah.
You know, like, she could be raising a kid that she feels like and looks at, like, that's not my kid. And she could have animosity toward the emperor for not making sure that her child survived, or not noticing that it was swapped earlier, because we know that Lauman was, you know, got in trouble for the Switch and other things.
I don't know. It's so difficult, man. Because, like, then you have to think, like, does the grandmother know anything? Does she have, what's her motive in it? Especially, like, what a great episode in how they're tying the beginning part with Jinshi back to the entire theme later on.
Do you want to know why we'd probably keep it secret, other than it just being, like, a little bit of a scandal?
Which?
The blood, like, just who Jinshi really is. Like, why everyone else...
That they're siblings?
Why we'd want it to be that they're siblings instead of father and son.
No, I don't think anybody knows that they're father and son.
Okay, but if people did know, the reason why you'd want them to be siblings is the bloodline scenario we bring up. We want whoever was the emperor's mother and father are the traits and the bloodline that we would want as the older people to pass down into the next emperor, the next heir. And so we're hoping Lady Luiha has the prince, or someone of that, you know, someone that's maybe more connected. Not Gyokyu, who's like a further away, not Western princess, but she's from, like, another region.
The real question is, why would they want people to not know they were siblings, right? Because
not know they were siblings.
Yeah, why Jinshi is a eunuch, right?
But that's because of the emperor.
Exactly.
No, everyone else knows, like, outside of the rear palace,
Agreed.
who Jinshi is.
Yeah.
And the emperor it's basically pretty clear that he has Jinshi in this position to test everyone. All the concubines and other eunuchs and other people at the outer court, to kind of find the suspicion, find the traitors, test their loyalty to the emperor.
Exactly. And, like, that's the answer to the question that is real and in front of us, that those characters know. I don't believe for a second that the emperor knows the truth. I don't think Jinshi knows the truth. I think Ao Duo does, and potentially Jinshi's mother knew, based off of the opening part of this episode. Like,
I'm gonna differ from you in terms
fair.
of the emperor. I feel like this episode
How would the
not
emperor
have
know?
happened unless the emperor knew.
How?
In the same way Ao Duo would know. He's gonna look at this kid and he's gonna be like, you look exactly like Aoduo.
But I don't think Aoduo knows by look. I think Aoduo knows because
feeling,
I think she
Well,
switched the babies.
She switched the babies.
And the only people who would know who switched the babies would be Aoduo or any accomplice within that. And I don't think the Emperor would have had any, like, insight on that.
But the Emperor is also pretty cunning and observant in himself. So couldn't he have figured Aoduo might have done something like that?
Why would the Emperor be so insistent on having another male heir right now if he knew that Jinchi was his son?
Is he insistent on it?
I mean, narratively, it seems like that's like...
It seems like he's just doing his job, which is gathering concubines and making babies with them. But I feel like he's trying to push Jinchi. Like, I think he's offering Jinchi, like, a platter. Like, if you want to take it, you know? But if you don't, then I'll make another heir. And we have a line from Jinchi that's like, why won't he just make an heir already? You know, as if, like, that will then free Jinchi into doing whatever Jinchi wants to do. But this could be, like, a big moment where it's like, here you go. You can have it, or you can choose to not have it, and I'm going to give you the actual choice between the two. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, like, wanting to believe so bad that the Emperor knows the truth, and I could just want that to be the case so bad that it's, like, clouding me a little bit.
It's difficult.
But I feel like any way you look at it, any lens that you start to look at it, you then kind of, certain evidence, it's like, oh, well, that could be why, and that would make sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could work for both reasons of, like, why the things in the episode happen in the way that they do.
God, I love that. I get so scared something bad's gonna happen so often that this man who's taking care of the Shrine of Choosing and his connection with Lauman and how much of, like, how egging on he does to Mao Mao is so refreshing, and it was so awesome to watch, because it's like, it's almost like he's saying internally, you guys don't know what you have in front of you. I'm gonna set a stage to show you what you have, you know?
I love that her first reading was, he's saying that I can't do it. And I'm like, girl, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that he could do it. He's giving you a clue. That doesn't mean he's saying that you can't. He's saying this person definitely could.
So do you think last episode's ending is telling us that the Emperor already planned to do this? Or do you think he brought up this idea to the Emperor after learning that Mao Mao was the daughter of Luomin?
It is odd, the timing of it.
Yeah.
It's a good question. It's so close in the timing of her revealing this to him to us doing the Shrine of Choosing. I don't know. That's a really good question. Obviously, we think the Emperor must have been itching to do something because of the expression he had on his face at the end of last episode. And maybe this man just fell right in his pocket and was like, hey, I have a fun little idea.
You could have so easily made the Emperor somebody who's like, again, damn it, I didn't get it again. Like, like insecure. Yeah. He's just inquisitive and wants to know, and I love it so much. I love how, like, informal him and the caretaker was with each other. It was great to see. I also loved the class Xiaolin learning too.
Yeah, and as Jinchi was like saying, he was hoping there'd be a lot more students, and I feel like it can't be. I'm glad that I think Gaoshan was like, well, now there's 20, and I think that's important. Like, yeah, 10 girls might have initially been like outgoing enough or interested enough to put themselves in a position that, you know, wasn't normally obtainable for themselves, or, you know, maybe some of the girls are like just a little nervous, like this is a new thing, they never thought that this was something that they could have access to, and putting yourself into such like a new zone, maybe you don't even like learning, can feel scary. And so seeing other girls then go do it and maybe have fun, be starting to read, like you're in your quarters and you look over and a girl next to you is starting to read small stories, you're gonna like feel left behind.
It started with 10, then to 20. What if there's a group outside that are all gossiping about this amazing story that they all read, and then you're like, oh shit, I want to read that story.
Yeah, Shisui reading, and then as soon as she lost her voice, all of the girls were suddenly like, oh my god, we need to learn how to read, and she's making her own copies for other people to read. It's that same scenario of like passing on that desire to do something. And so I feel like that number is going to get a lot higher after this episode. It's not going to be just 20.
I feel like they couldn't do a better job of painting the Emperor in a better light. Like, with him, his disposition, his reaction to things, his confidence, his desires, and the things that he doesn't desire. He's not into little girls. He's not into Mao Mao.
He stopped the surgery that makes a eunuch a eunuch.
Yeah.
He's letting there be a vocational school for the servant girls in the real palace. This emperor, like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of older people that probably hate
I mean,
him.
we brought kind of the idea up of what it looks like having women or like having children from other bloodlines being involved and how there could be a negative response to it. Like, he seems extremely aware and very methodical, but in a good way.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like he was definitely a bit of he's shipping. He's a meddler. He's a shipper. Honestly, him and Gyokyu are probably like chit-chatting about how they should finally just kiss already.
Oh my god,
like
that's such an awesome headcanon. Like,
about how
every time Gyokyu reacts, she's like, behind closed doors, her and the Emperor are like, oh my god, look at them.
Because we know that's what Gyokyu does.
Yeah.
We know that Gyokyu is constantly giggling about, like, obviously Mao Mao not being able to read, how the fact that Jinshi is, like, into her, and, like, giving her the silver hairpin in
Emperor,
season 1.
you won't believe it. Mao Mao said some shit that got Jinshi thinking that she fucked people, and then Jinshi was freaking the fuck out, and he's like, oh, my brother, that's so funny. That's hilarious.
But I feel like they were so dense in one scene in particular. Honestly, that's why it came back a second time. The old man that is the caretaker and then the school teacher, him and the Emperor brought up the same thing twice because Mao Mao and Jinshi are just that dense. The first time it was like, oh, I'm not gonna take her as a concubine, but Jinshi, neither of them reacted as if, like, you know, like, neither of them caught it. And then the second time we do it again, and the Emperor is like, well, I'm not interested in her. And then the old man is, like, bringing up the idea of, like, Jinshi there, you know, they're just so dense, you know? And the Emperor was like, oh, I couldn't do that because her father, Lakan, you know?
I wouldn't want to make Lakan upset.
Which is like, I didn't realize that was public information, like, that we were screaming that from the heavens, but the Emperor knows so much that he probably has a network of little spies and little birds that tell him everything.
I think that, like, without a doubt, the Emperor knows, like, the whole Lao Min connection, right? Like, it's
100%.
just, God, it's so, I like how they kind of, like, make an explosion in our faces of what's known and what's not known out of nowhere this episode, or just and the story all in all.
I think my final thing that I'd want to see is the kind of, it's not a threat from the caretaker, but it's a warning of a threat to Jinshi where he says, I know. Like, I just want to
Where's that?
It's like the very last sentence that we say before leaving this kind of balcony.
There are many who do not favorably view the introduction of new blood. Yes, I'm aware. Yes, I'm sure you are, Your Majesty. Please be careful. Both look to Jinshi. I know.
Soon we are going to be introducing Jinshi as right?
Yeah.
Soon we are going to be putting him into the public light even more than he ever has been. But as himself and not as eunuch Jinshi.
Like, is there a time that Jinshi needs to get married? You know, like, is it about that time, just in case? If the Emperor is not able to produce a male bloodline, quote unquote, do we need to have reassurance of Jinshi having kids as well?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know?
I don't know what they need.
I don't know.
Because I don't know historically what they need here, but we're definitely being like, hey, here's your first concubine. She's right here. Pick her. Go ahead and rule the world together.
I think that this man might be one of my favorite characters in the series.
The caretaker?
Yeah, he's willing to go through what he needs to just be able to take care of this place. And I love that. He's so cool.
And he's so, like, casual and fun.
He's so cool. All right,
Okay.
you good?
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.